What is up? Welcome into the Thursday episode of Talking Ball. Today on the show, jam-packed episode. No interview again this week, but we're going to start off with a little bringing back the Talking Ball segment because we have some news in the NFL that we're going to want to get to here. Hypothetical trades then that I want to see. Trade deadline coming up at the end of this month. Obviously, some teams out of it. I want to see some action at the trade deadline. Obviously, the NFL's trade deadline not near what the MLB's is, but I still want to see some guys on the move. I think we may this season because of kind of NFL's, I guess, acceptance of trades league-wide as an opportunity for team building. So we'll get into those. We're going to do takes of the week from you guys, those speak pipes. Make sure to keep sending those in to us. We're going to do first-round locks. We're going to get to the movie club. All the right moves. Tom Cruise, if you guys watched it, that was an adventure. We'll talk about that towards the end, and then a little would you rather. But let's start off with this. Dan Snyder, the article that broke, the bombshell on ESPN.com today, that he hired private investigators to get dirt on Roger Goodell and multiple other owners around the league that has made him nearly untouchable with all the stuff that's gone on there, all the horrific things going on in Washington under his watch that have his fingerprints all over it, that he's basically, they can't get rid of him. They can't force him to sell because he's going to take down the rest of the league with him, which...
I hate to say it because, he is a bad guy.
Yeah.
But that's a fucking power move.
Evil genius shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
a power move of all power moves right there.
Yeah. I know I'm a piece of shit, but I also know you guys, some of you guys are a piece of shit. So I'm going to do the best. That really is a masterclass on being a villain. It really is. And who do you think, Quinn, or who are the owners that you would bet on right now to be involved? Because the obvious one's Jerry Jones, and it was even named in the article. But who else do you think could be on that list?
I would say anybody in Miami, any executives in Miami, because they've been kind of painted in not such a great light lately. Although if you're Dan Snyder, would you even bother sending private investigators to a Jerry Jones or to Miami? Because it's we already know that
exactly
they've had some wrongdoings.
What else can you find?
Let's go. Yeah, well, I don't need to spend my resources there. Let's go to the squeaky clean guys, the guys, the Rooneys or the Maras, you know what I mean? People that, I think, I don't think they've been involved in anything, right?
Yeah, well, Robert Kraft's the other low-hanging fruit one, right?
That's
he was getting rub and tugs down in
I don't
Florida.
need to. That would be a waste of my private investigators' time.
Yeah.
Right?
What are you gonna do? Say that he got a rub and tug again? It's we know that already happened. I do wonder, as an NFL owner myself, if I've been getting followed lately. If that's something that you think you would use the resources on me, a shareholder, probably not, right? I don't know.
I wonder if there's anybody that is not. If he followed anybody and they just couldn't find anything, right? Have you ever, did you watch Entourage?
Yes, he did.
That one episode where Ari Gold hires the private investigator to tail the dean of the school so that his kid can get in.
Yeah.
And the private investigator comes back and he's like, I got nothing. This dude's just squeaky clean. And he has to go to his front lawn and be like, will you please let my kid in? I wonder if there was a situation like that where somebody was being followed and the private investigator's probably.
You're
out of luck, dude.
Because he was probably, he had to be taking all of 30 other owners in the NFL to try to get anything. I will say, though, selfishly, I want to see the reckoning. I want to see this all hit the fan, so to speak. I want to see Dan Snyder go down. And I want to see whoever he has dirt on also go. I want it all to come to light. It would be
I do feel like it will come out eventually, and maybe not even necessarily in an official capacity, but I don't know, maybe in 15 years, somebody will write a book.
Yeah.
And it'll be all hearsay, obviously. But at some point, usually that stuff, at least in 2022, usually that stuff kind of comes out at some point.
Well, they said owners meeting next week, I believe, could have some fireworks after that. So we'll be monitoring that as that progresses. The other thing coming out of Washington, William Jackson, former Bengals great, requesting a trade. He wants out. Not surprising considering he's played ass for them and got benched. and was never a scheme fit to begin with. I said that when they signed him. It did not make sense. This is a man cover corner going to one of the zone heavier defenses in the NFL. Was always a weird fit from a personnel standpoint. Not surprising that it didn't work out, but that has spurred me to think about where best landing spot for him, and a lot of other guys now around the NFL that are on teams that may be out of it, maybe their last year there, teams looking to get something back from him in return. So we're going to go through some hypothetical trade situations, starting with William Jackson, Washington Commanders cornerback. I think the ideal landing spot, I would say, for him right now, San Francisco 49ers. Just lost cornerback Emmanuel Mosley with the torn ACL. Diamador Lenoir has been rough there. I'm not sure you want him as your starter on the outside. And yeah, he's been rough, but from the slot. But he's given up 253 yards on 26 of 30 targets this year, Diamador Lenoir. Whereas Emmanuel Mosley and Charvarius Ward, your two outside cornerbacks, have given up 135 yards on 178 yards respectively. That's been your weak link, and now he may be getting thrust into a starting role. If I'm anyone picking up the phone to take on William Jackson's money, it's the San Francisco 49ers, because it's a good team. They can win now. And he's much better fit for their defense with the press, match man stuff that they do on the outside than he ever was in Washington. So that's one guy I'd be looking at. If Washington's looking to fire sale, looking to get rid of this roster if things do go south, which we kind of think they may. They are not looking up right now. We'll see what happens on Thursday Night Football with this Bears game. But Daron Payne's the other kind of elephant in the room there at the defense tackle position. Last year of his deal, you've given a lot of money to Jonathan Allen. You have a lot of money maybe going to Montez Sweat and Chase Young here in the coming months, or coming years, How much are you willing to give to another defensive tackle on that line? I think the team that could use Daron Payne's services, if he's getting moved at the deadline, Cleveland Browns. Browns are some of the worst DTs in the NFL, one of the worst run defenses. And it's because they're just so soft up the middle. I've discussed this a handful of times on the show already. As it stands right now, the dead last in terms of run defense grade among all teams in the NFL. And a lot of that's because of their defensive tackle position. The other team that I'm looking at that's fire sailing, or could be, or should be, honestly, I tweeted that out today, the Carolina Panthers. To me, firing Matt Rule, okay, that's a start, but they got to get rid of, they have to change GMs soon, in my opinion. You can't let a GM that's there, Scott Fitterer, have another season without, unless like all the moves prior were Matt Rule's and you give him now full control and it's going to be different. But if you're giving him this lame duck next season or letting him finish out the rest of this season, looking for a new GM in the offseason, I think you're doing it wrong, because they're in such a bad cap situation that they can't make any moves that are going to try to save Scott Fitterer's job. Like, you can't have a guy playing for just next year. You're in such a bad way from a roster perspective, with so many bad bloated cap hits on that roster, so many bloated contracts, that you have to either change regimes or say, Scott Fitterer, you have the next 3 years. Don't try to win in 2023. Because if you try to win in 2023 with this roster as it's currently constructed, you're going to be sorely mistaken. It's going to be bad. And you're going to make win now moves that you shouldn't, instead of what I propose, which is like, a borderline fire sale. You have some ugly contracts on there. You have DJ Moore making over $20 million next year. Christian McCaffrey making over $20 million next year. Robbie Anderson over $20 million next year. Taylor Mouton over $20 million next year. Shaq Thompson over $20 million next year. I don't think anyone's trading for Shaq Thompson, but some of those guys do still have value to get anything back that you can before you have to cut them. Because now DJ Moore, you're not going to cut. Taylor Mouton, you're not going to cut. But before you have to cut these guys to pay away for the future, I would be in the business of trying to move them to get picks back, because if you cut them, that's not a compensatory pick. You're not getting anything back from them. So to me, and you can call me a homer for this, it won't hurt my feelings, but DJ Moore to the Green Bay Packers is like the fit. If the Packers are going to add anyone, DJ Moore would be the guy that I'd be on the lookout for, because he fits what they do after the catch, yak ability. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL with the ball in his hands, obviously being miscast in an offense with Baker Mayfield. A lot of people are miscast in an offense with Baker Mayfield, but I think with what the Packers have done with their quick passing game this season, he is the missing link. They don't have guys right now that are breaking tackles, creating on their own. DJ Moore's that guy.
Can I throw in another hometown pick?
Let's do it.
Deron Payne to the Bengals. They need help.
They need the DT rotation.
Yeah. DJ Reader is sorely missed.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I didn't have the Bengals as buyers in any of these.
But you think the Browns, you're still in on the Browns?
I think the Browns are going to be buyers just because of where they, this is the year that Deshaun Watson's
up
cheap.
For that. Yeah,
Sure.
That makes sense.
They kind of have to move some chips in to make it work this year, or else it's going to get more expensive in the future. So, but I do think the Bengals could use, if they're looking to make moves, they're looking on the offensive line first, though. Is where I'm looking, unfortunately.
Jonah Williams ain't going to play this week.
Yeah, that's rough. It's rough. The other, Christian McCaffrey's the other kind of elephant in the room here with his contract in Carolina. Not to say we told you so about the contract, but, that's why you don't pay running backs big money. They get hurt. Nature of the position. And, yeah, he's great. Great running back. That's nothing against him. But I think we're seeing that he's not a difference maker for an offense. Can't carry all on his own. And his cap hits go to $19.5 million 2023, $19.5 million 2024, $15 million 2025. Now, if they trade him, take some of that this year, but it comes off the books in the future in terms of how much money you're eating. But the one that's been rumored, and I do agree with, is the Buffalo Bills. Now, if the Bills trade for him, it would be 1 year. You're not giving him that $11.8 million base salary in 2023. That is not – you are doing it for the Buffalo Bills for this season, to try to win a championship this season. And I would not blame a move like that. I mean, he's still a good running back. There's no doubt about that, even after these injuries. Only 26 years old, still a difference maker at a position that they don't have a difference maker. They have a bunch of role players. They have kind of a short yardage back in Zach Moss. They have a receiving only back in James Cook, who hasn't really been great at that so far this season. And is a rookie. So that would be one guy where I think he could actually make a difference for a team that's constructed like the Buffalo Bills are right now. The last guy for the Carolina Panthers that I think has even a modicum of trade value would be Robbie Anderson. Obviously, they just gave him a new deal, which was just an awful deal when they signed it. Such a win-now deal. 3 years, $41 million. That escalates to $21.7 million next year against the cap. He's not going to be there. He's not playing at that number. So if they trade him now, they get a good deal of cap relief from not only this season but next season, and then you're not taking it into 2024 and beyond. So they'd get some relief. It wouldn't be too expensive for anyone taking him on because you wouldn't eat any of the bonus if you're a team trading for him. So the one I highlighted that could use Robbie Anderson's services is the Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers. We lament their inability to push the ball down the football field weekly. And it's a twofold problem. It is one, scheme, and two, they just don't have speed. Anderson has speed. He's a 4.3 guy. That's been his bread and butter for the course of his career. So if anyone's looking to add a guy like that, I think it would be the LA Chargers. Staying at the wide receiver position, going elsewhere across the NFL, a couple guys I think could be on the move. Chase Claypool, last year of his rookie contract for him. Obviously, just a loaded room there not the last year of his rookie contract. Second to last year of his rookie contract, but a loaded room there in Pittsburgh with all they have now with George Pickens, with Deontay Johnson, getting the bulk of those targets there of late. I think he could be not only on the move, but like a guy who would be coveted on the open market, would get you a good haul in return. And the Tennessee Titans is the team that I think should make a move for a guy like that. Obviously, it's an offense that has coveted bigger wide receivers in the past, whether it's Julio Jones, whether it's A.J. Brown, whether it's Treylon Burks. 6'4", 229, you don't find many bigger wide receivers than Chase Claypool. Tailor-made for that offense with how they work the middle of the field so much with their receivers. Big catch radius, would be much better fit for them than he would in Pittsburgh. And again, would immediately, day one, be their best wide receiver. So if he is on the market, if he is going to come available, we'll see how the Steelers play out the next few weeks, obviously they have a murderer's row of schedule here coming up. They lose a few games in a row. It could be Chase Claypool on the move time.
What do you think his deal is going to look like when it comes time to re-sign? Because I could see teams, like you kind of alluded to, like wanting to back up the Brinks truck for him and being like, yeah, we're going to get him in here. Like, we're going to make him one of our guys. We're going to get him working with our staff, and he'll be like a true wide receiver one. And then I feel like there could be other teams that are just like, like he's kind of underperformed.
Yeah.
Athletic. Like, I don't know where – somebody probably will overpay for him, but he's just got like such a wide range, I feel like, of potential outcomes for – like his agent's got his work cut out.
The career arc right now, and that's the thing, is the career arc's so weird. You know, over 900 yards as a rookie. Excuse me, over 800 yards as a rookie, 873 yards as a rookie, 9 touchdowns. Like, everyone thinks home run pick.
Looked like the guy.
Yes, exactly.
With his athletic profile, and that's what I'm saying. If somebody buys into that, they're going to give him $14 million a year.
Like, that trajectory, if you put up those numbers in year one, you are thinking $20 million a year type of wide receiver by the end of his rookie contract, by 4 years in. Then the next year, similar numbers, 59 catches, 860 yards, 2 touchdowns. No advancement in terms of in any meaningful way. You know, like he's kind of just the same guy. No broken tackle rates, worse. Drop rates, worse. Pretty much across the board, either the same or worse than he was as rookie. And then this year, can't buy a bucket. I mean, 129 yards in 5 games. Not even no modicum of downfield success in that offense.
He does bonehead shit too.
And that's
the thing. Like, it's like, do you buy into that upside, or do you just say like he kind of is who he is now?
He was the guy.
I'll take a flyer, but I'm not going to give you a boatload of money.
He was the guy signaling first down in the 2-minute drill instead of getting back to the line. And he's, I don't want to say, he's not Juju Smith-Schuster levels of TikTok influencer, but he's up there. He plays to that. That's a part of him that you're going to have to accept if you trade for him. But I do think he's definitely fallen out of favor in this offense. And with as much as they have there, and obviously invested so much in wide receiver in this year's draft, with not only George Pickens but also Calvin Austin, that I do think he'd be better suited elsewhere. The other wide receiver that could be on the move has been rumored to be on the trading block. I don't know if it's something that would happen at midseason now at this point with how well his team has played, but Kadarius Toney, obviously oft injured. Giants don't find him reliable whatsoever. It seems like, hasn't played since week 2 now. Seems as if at some point, it just seems as if it's not going to work out, right? He doesn't have 2 catches, not a single receiving yard on the season so far for Kadarius Toney. So it's kind of just this, one of those, almost like the John Ross situation in Cincinnati, where it's like, why isn't it working out? This guy's so talented. What's going on? That it's got to be something behind the scenes. So where I would love to see him go is the Miami Dolphins. Just adding another weapon, uber athletic, uber yak guy to that offense, I think would be out of this world. And to me, it's an offense that doesn't necessarily need the crispest, that's the word, crispest of route runners. They're putting the ball in your hands quick, which was Kadarius Toney's MO at Florida. He was running just this odd nothing route tree that was letting him give option routes and just go basically wherever he found space in that offense. I think Mike McDaniel could do a number with a guy like Kadarius Toney. That would be one where, maybe the trade deadline's not when you move him, especially with how well the Giants played this season, but I'd be intrigued.
Well, you move him now when Teddy's starting, because that's like the perfect guy for Teddy.
Yeah.
Sure. Like, Tua doesn't really huck it that well. I guess he is this year, but Teddy's the king of low ADOT.
Dumping it off. I will say, Teddy's out this week. They said Skylar Thompson's starting.
Oh, is he?
And Teddy's maybe
I didn't see that.
He may not, he's not even declared out, but Skylar Thompson's the starter, which is a weird. They've named Skylar Thompson the starter, which I found odd. So we'll see how that ends up working out. They said he's an available backup though for the game. So I don't know how that one's gonna work. Other guys I want to see moved or could see moved. Bears, obviously a team that I'm not super high on their prospects going forward. They have a couple guys that in Robert Quinn, who kind of has checked out this season, shall we say. We just lamented how poorly he's been playing earlier this week. And David Montgomery, who, he's tremendous, but he's in the last year of his rookie deal. You have Khalil Herbert as his backup, who's been playing outstanding. If you can get anything back for a running back, I think you do it. But Robert Quinn, I would love to see him go to the Chiefs. Chiefs D-line still is lacking that juice off the edge. I mean, they're throwing out Chris Jones on the edge on some pass rushing downs just because they don't want to get him doubled on the interior, give him a little more space to work, and he's doing well in that. But Robert Quinn, I do think it may be more effort related than anything else, in that he knows this is a kind of dud season for him with the Chicago Bears. That's not uncommon to see from veterans. That was Whitney Merciless last year when he was with the Texans.
AJ Green.
It
happens. Say that out loud.
It happens. It happens because football's a physically demanding game at that age. You better be mentally checked in, or else it's going to be tough for you to make an impact. So he would probably be more checked in if he went to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, obviously, his deal may not be the most easy to accept for a team. You'd have to buy in. You'd have to do some due diligence there before you made that trade. But that's where I would love to see him go. And for David Montgomery, I'm going to throw another team that I've already floated, but the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, they've had a ton of injuries at the running back position. He's just another guy who can break tackles at will in a team filled with receivers that can break tackles at will. I think that would be a fun-to-watch pairing. That probably wouldn't cost too much for the 49ers to make. Next one here. We're going to the New England Patriots, where Isaiah Wynn has been a little disgruntled for a time now in the last year of his deal, I believe. They've switched him sides this offseason, which was always odd. They flipped their tackles, moved him from left to the right. Is still very good. The team that I think should be in need of his services is the Los Angeles Rams. We've lament their offensive line week in, week out, and it's kind of like this is it. The window's only dwindling with how that roster was constructed. And yes, they hit big on the window. If you want to keep it open even a little, you got to keep throwing some draft capital at this roster. They've obviously shown in years past that they're not opposed to making moves like this, the Von Miller deal just last season. I do think if the Rams are going to be in that market again, Isaiah Wynn's who I target if I'm the Rams. You need upgrades anywhere you can take him. He can, and he's a guy that's shown he can play left tackle, right tackle, guard at the NFL level. I do think that's like a possibility at this point with, one, the Rams' propensity to do deals like that. Two, the Patriots' propensity. We've seen them do it with Jamie Collins in years past, with other guys at the deadline. So would be interested to see that. Last one here. And I don't know if this one's realistic. I don't know if the Broncos are going to be parting ways with Bradley Chubb or wanting to, but another guy who I believe last year of his deal, you have invested a lot at the edge position. You just signed Randy Gregory. You have Baron Browning looking sick this season. You have Nick Bonito that you just drafted somewhat highly. And again, if you're not willing to pay two edge rushers top dollar, which it's difficult to do, invest that much money at one position on your roster, you might be able to get a haul back for a guy like that for half a season. The team I would recommend doing so, Tampa Bay Bucks, because as much as I said the Rams window is kind of this is also the Bucks window. You didn't even think this year was open, actually. Heading into back in January or February after Tom Brady retired, you thought the window was closed. And so that window ain't going to be open long. If I'm the Bucks, I'm throwing every pick in the future I can to improve this roster this season. And the one spot where they could use a little more juice is probably just that defensive line rotation. I don't think they're not seeing the same results this year from that D-line than they had, especially the year they won the Super Bowl. So Bradley Chubb's the one guy. If I'm a team, if I am Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I am calling, asking what it takes, because it's still a very good roster, but you got to get something to push you over the edge at this point. So there you have it. Those are the hypothetical trades I want to see before the deadline. Let's get now to some takes of the week. Remember, go to the SpeakPipe link in the description below and call in with a voicemail. Call in with a take. Anything you want. Doesn't have to be necessarily even football related. We haven't run any non-football related ones, but if you have something that needs to be said, come in and say it. This is your platform. I want to hear from you guys. So we only have one this week make the cut, but let's
before we get to takes of the week, I have a fun read.
Oh, do you?
I snuck in here. Yeah. Did you see this tweet? Marcus Freeman is Notre Dame's head coach before converting to Catholicism, 0-3. Marcus Freeman is Notre Dame's head coach after converting to Catholicism, 3-0.
I did not see that.
Care to discuss? Care to come on the pod and discuss?
Oof. We're going to have the Pope on the pod to discuss, right? God himself is going to have to come down and let us know. That's, I always, when he did convert to Catholicism, I was like, dude, that was kind of suspect. I
feel like you have to, though. And it also, as somebody who was raised Catholic, like, it takes a long time. Like, like one of my good friends, when he married his now wife, had to convert to Catholicism for that. And it took like a year. You don't just show up and be like, I want to get baptized. You have to like you have to take classes and do all that stuff.
See, I went to Notre Dame and did not understand how Catholic it actually was until I went there. And you have to take 2 theology courses. And I grew up just like agnostic. We didn't go to church, didn't do anything like that. And the first theology class, they basically ask, how many of you are Catholic? I am the only person who doesn't raise my hand in my theology class. And they just like tell you to open up a Bible to like XYZ page. And I'm like, what are they, chapter, verse? And I'm just flipping through looking for like a table of contents. I don't know how to operate a Bible. There's not page
Philippians, Book of Job.
Yeah. They don't just have numbers. So I'm like looking at the guy next to me, trying to figure out how far into his Bible he is to start reading along with the class. Needless to say, didn't get the best grade in that class. But it was the timing of that Freeman thing, because they were 0-2 when he did it on the season. I was like, did he just do it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think he was probably trying to do it like maybe before the season starts, or like maybe he did it like when he accepted. But whoever those priests are in that picture were probably like, hey man, like I'm not just gonna let you waltz in here. Like you gotta earn it. You gotta want it.
Yeah.
So that's all I got.
I will be in South Bend this weekend. If any Talking Ball listeners are there, I will be watching Tanner McKee hopefully tank his draft stock this weekend against the Irish. So let's get to takes the week though.
Yep, resident Browns fan. This is from him.
What up, boys? Aaron Natty here with a spicy take. For the long-term success and health of the Broncos franchise, they'll be happy they've done terrible this year, and they actually should be hoping for more of that to come for the remainder of the season. As the resident Browns fan of the show, I know all too well how divided a locker room can be and how you cannot win at the highest level with an uncharismatic quarterback not playing at an elite level. The Broncos fans should be hoping for more poor performances throughout the rest of the year, not so Nathaniel Hackett will be fired, because that's already going to happen, but because the worse the Broncos do, the more Russell Wilson will have to listen to the new coach they hire next year. Don't know who that'll be. People say Sean Payton. I don't think he's going to take that job. So throw out names like Tomlin, Belichick, maybe if you want to be vanilla, Dan Quinn, but someone with a big personality to act like Pete did to really not let Russell cook. Thanks, boys. Go Browns.
Whew. He had me in the first half. Not even going to lie. I think the take made sense for a while. Then he said Tomlin and Belichick, and I hope he was saying guys like that with personalities like that, and not actually suggesting that Mike Tomlin or Bill Belichick is going to be the next coach of the Denver Broncos.
The other one that got me too was Sean Payton, and this might be a spicy take of my own, but I don't think he's coming back.
You don't think so? Think he's happier in retirement? I don't know.
I mean, he gets thrown out there. It's kind of like, you remember when like Brad Stevens was at Butler, and like any head coaching job that came open, everybody was like, NBA or college. They were like, oh, that's Brad Stevens.
Yeah.
Brad Stevens is going here. Brad Stevens is going there. Like, I feel like Sean Payton is that now.
He's the next Brad
But
Stevens.
like, I feel like he might just stay retired. I don't know. I have nothing to base that off of. I just don't think it's like, everyone assumes that he's just this like slam dunk to come back and take the next like good open coaching job. And I don't think he's going to do it.
So I think everyone thinks that because he's 58. He's not.
That's retirement age for most people.
Yeah. But he's not, 60, 65 plus. He's not really limping into the barn sort of age where he's probably got a good 7 years, 8 years left.
Oh, he'd be a great coach. Like, I would love for him to come coach the Bengals instead of Zach Taylor, but like, that's not going to happen, you know?
I just think he loves ball too much. I mean, there was that story about when he did have the year off when he got suspended for a year, where he coached his, kids team.
Yeah, Kevin James did that. That's not.
Yeah. And there was an actual movie made about it. Oh, we need to put that one in the movie club.
That should be the next one.
What was it? I had one prepared.
Keep going. I'll look it up.
But I've never actually seen that movie. I had no interest in it. But that might have to be the next movie club one. If we can make sure it's on streaming. I had a different one prepared, but we might pivot because I do want to see that now. Now that you say that, Sean Payton's gonna be the next coach. We're gonna need to do some due diligence.
Says it's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
I'm still looking for the name. Oh, it's a Home Team.
Home Team.
It's called. Yeah.
Jesus. How is that like not even register on that name doesn't even sound familiar. Did it go straight to like Netflix? Was it straight to
it looks from the looks of this article, it looks like it was just a Netflix production.
That makes sense. That's why. All right, I think that's actually going to be our next one.
I vote for that.
We'll get to that when we get there.
I vote for that one.
Next segment here. Oh, take of the week. So lost me with Mike Tomlin and Bill Belichick. Just going to keep it real. I don't think you're getting any of those in Denver. And the problem is, if you keep looking bad, at some point, some of it's going back to Russ, right? It's not just coaching. Coaching's not making your offense, your quarterback look this bad, in my opinion, especially with Nathaniel Hackett having at least some track record. Blake Bortles didn't look this bad under Nathaniel Hackett. Aaron Rodgers, obviously Aaron Rodgers, that's a little different, but at some point it might just be Russ because this was the end of last year for Russ, right? He wasn't good when he came back from the thumb. Now he has a lat, and maybe that's part of it. But that's the worrisome thing is you're tied to Russ for, the first year you can get out of this deal without basically murdering your cap is 2026. You are taking on, if you cut him this season, $124 million in dead cap. 2023 is $107 million. 2024 is $85 million in dead cap. 2025 is $49 million in dead cap. So you have him for 4 more years. That is not debatable. So if you're really going to get a new head coach, if you really don't think Hackett's it, you'd like to crash and burn. That's better for just, building things back up, but you also don't have a first-round pick, right? Because that's the Russell Wilson. So to me, there's no real advantage to being awful this year. You want Hackett to work out. You want Russ to work out because these are the years his cap hits are reasonable. $17 million this year, $22 million against cap next year, $35 million 2024. This is when it's reasonable. After that, it's over. You're done after that in terms of building a team around how much he's going to cost in your cap that can actually compete. So I'm going to give that take probably somewhere in the 60s. That's like a 65.3 take. I don't give a lot of low grades, but that one I can't see the silver lining for the Broncos team. It's not quite like the Panthers really taking it and maybe getting a Bryce Young. There's no that light at the end of the tunnel. Let's get to first round locks, where we've already locked in a good 5 guys. Jalen Carter, Georgia defense tackle, Will Anderson, Bama edge, Peter Skoronski, Northwestern tackle, CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, the 1-2 QB debate at the moment. And we're going to go to the defensive line again to lock in another. And this guy hasn't played a ton this year. Obviously, he's dealing with some family off-field issues. But Brian Brzee, defense tackle from Clemson, former number 1 overall recruit in the 2020 class. Top 20 freaks list player preseason. Runs in the high 4.7s apparently at 310 pounds. He's been awesome when on the football field this year. I was on with Fran Duffy on his podcast earlier today, actually, talking about Brian Brzee, saying, this is the guy I want to see the most second half of the season of any prospect. Because he was so good when on the field here early on, but only 3 games. If he gets some big stages, whether it's ACC title game, whether it is a playoff game, and he shows out, I think he can challenge for – I don't think he challenged Willie Anderson for, first non-quarterback off the board, but I think he could maybe jump Jalen Carter with how just physically gifted a dude like Brzee is. So locking him in the first round. I think his floor is somewhere in like the teens at this point, to where he could make his way in the top 5 with a big second half. All right, the moment we've all been waiting for in this episode. Movie club. All the right moves. Tom Cruise, one of his first movies ever, came out
22 years old. I looked it up.
22 years old. Came out in 1983, correct?
Yes, it did.
It was.
Because that was one of my biggest, not to cut you off, but that was one of my biggest takes. It looked like, I guessed 70s.
Dude,
I had to look it up because I was like, there's no way that Tom Cruise is that old, right? Like, he's not a young man, but it looked like 70s. And I was like, there's no way that would have been, like, the age in the movie when I thought it wouldn't match up.
It to me, it looked so, it reminded me how trash movies used to be. You know, there was literally not even, when in the football scenes, they didn't have, like, sound of the game going on.
Yeah, because I think it was just probably so, like, low budget that's why it looks like shit. That's why it sounds like shit, you know? And I kind of enjoyed the movie. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I like Tom Cruise. I'm a Tom Cruise stans. Mm-hmm. But, like, I looked it up for reference. Top Gun came out in 86. And the visuals in that, that's what I'm saying. Like, that was 3 years later. So I think it was just probably low budget. Tom Cruise, one of his first roles.
Yeah.
Whatever.
The rain. So they had, like, football action scenes in the rain. And it sounds, instead of, like, it's sounding like rain, it sounded like someone's just pouring water over a microphone. It was a constant stream of water instead of, like, dripping, you know, how rain sounds. Whoever was doing the special effects for this probably didn't make much. Probably did not make a lot of money for it. But they really set a hard tone early on. So it's basically a coming of age, whatever, football, East Pennsylvania or Western Pennsylvania type of movie. But 15 minutes in, I don't think they had made anything other than sexual innuendo jokes. He said, one of his best friends says he's going to donate his dick to his girlfriend. Tom Cruise asks his girlfriend if she knows what a hand-on is. And then he says, that's what you did Saturday night. The guy in class, his friend in class, raises his desk off the ground with his boner. It was, and that's all within the first 15 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, it didn't get better.
It really
it did. There was a lot of things that didn't age well in that movie.
that was what it really harkened back to a different time. You just, that movie doesn't get made. Those jokes don't get made anymore.
I feel like it's like, have you seen Rush Hour on TV lately?
No, but I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie, but, like, if you watch it on
it's
TV,
all race jokes.
they'll like put, like, a little tag, like a little disclaimer on the front, like right when it starts, and it's basically like, hey, yeah, like, this movie was made in the 90s and, like, this shit didn't age well, so, like, just heads up before you watch. I feel like you need to slap that on this movie.
Every Jackie Chan movie, in retrospect, was kind of problematic. There was a lot of jokes at his expense that were not chill by today's standards. They at one point had a locker room dance party where Tom Cruise's exact words were "not bad for a white boy, eh?" to his teammate as he's, like, grinding each other. That was one of the weirdest scenes of any movie I've ever seen. The coach catches them all dancing together, and then he started dancing with them, which, dude, I don't know. I've not been in the locker rooms quite like that. Tom Cruise commits sexual assault in the back of his car. Literally has his girlfriend screaming no to get off him and won't stop. That was pretty problematic. Gets very upset that she won't let him have sex with her, which, again, was tough to watch. Probably why it's not remembered as a Tom Cruise classic. He probably doesn't want a lot of people going back and viewing this one in today's light. I did find it funny, though, that so the whole premise of the movie is kind of, he's trying to get a scholarship to college. He's trying to get out of there. He has bigger goals than just small town Pennsylvania.
It's very cliche.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I hate to sound like Austin, but it was exceptionally tropey. Like 20 minutes in, I was like, I know where this movie's going.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to beef with his coach, and they're going to pull off a big win somewhere in there, and they're going to get mad at each other and then have, like, a come to Jesus moment at the end, and he's going to get a scholarship.
Yeah.
Like, you could see it.
Mm-hmm. And the other, like, side plot was the coach is also trying to gun for a bigger job. He wants this bigger job too. And I found it hilarious that a talent scout or something from Cal Poly, which is, I don't know if they have a football team. It's not like a D1 or FBS school. Cal Poly is looking between the coach in this movie, high school coach, and a coach from Aliquippa, also in Pennsylvania. Cal Poly is choosing between two high school coaches in Pennsylvania for their defensive backs coach, which I just am pretty sure that's not how hiring processes work at major colleges. They're not going to high school coaches in Pennsylvania trying to find the next great defensive backs coach, especially when I'm pretty sure Craig T. Nelson, who was the head coach, the actor that played the head coach, probably never played defensive back in his life. He's fucking enormous, that dude. So that was weird. He drops dropped a hard R in his pregame speech, which was also weird. 3
racially disparaging terms in a row. I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
like
it was a audible gasp.
Yep.
Watching that. You saw high schoolers having sex, which is always an interesting thing in movies when they have 16-year-olds actually naked and they actually show it. So that was weird. He raw dogs his girlfriend after his buddy just had his scholarship, just had to leave his scholarship offer to USC on the table because he got his girlfriend pregnant, which probably not the best decision. And then the guy gets arrested in class. Why did he get arrested? I actually missed that part. It was absolutely hilarious to watch. But they had 2 cops come in and just throw him against his own desk.
I remember that. I don't
know why he got arrested though. Still, I don't know what he did. They said trespass. You were breaking and entering, or
it probably was when they vandalized the coach's house. It probably was that.
Okay.
I just assumed it was that.
Yeah, but I don't remember him being there. That plot point I missed. But his buddy gets arrested, and then at the end, his coach gets the Cal Poly job and gives him a scholarship offer, even after he kicked him off the team. So it was not a good movie. It was good for it being bad kind of movie, though I will say I enjoyed. I'm glad I watched it.
That's what I'm saying. I like Tom Cruise. Mm-hmm. And 80s movies are kind of funny, like the soundtracks and everything, which the soundtrack was actually kind of fire.
Oh, yeah. I wrote that here, actually. The intro song, which was actually called All the Right Moves, was a banger.
I'm probably going to listen to that in the car on the way home if we're keeping it a buck. I know. But all 80s movies were like that. Mm-hmm. Like that. I feel like that is kind of a lost golden art in cinema, is they were just bangers in movies.
Yeah. So I feel like it was interesting for seeing Tom Cruise in a role that's just not Tom Cruise. It doesn't mesh with
neck roll
any of the rest of his career.
22-year-old Tom Cruise is not a neck roll guy.
Yeah.
He's sporting the neck, the taped up neck roll the whole movie. Now, I will say, if he were to recreate that today, I would let Tom Cruise wear a neck roll. With as much him doing his own stunts, his body of work, all the crazy shit that he's done, modern day Tom Cruise could pull off a neck roll, not 22-year-old Tom Cruise.
I agree. It was an experience. I'll say that. So let's do home team. I was going to do North Dallas 40 for the post
That's a good
week 7.
One. I've seen that one.
So let's do home team though, because that one's
I agree.
Topical, recent. No one else has probably watched it either. So we get to all have the shared experience there. So last segment here. Ended it on this. Would you rather? Do it every week. Player, unit, and a random would you rather. You want to kick it off with yours here, Quinn?
Yeah. We kind of touched on it earlier in the show because it's topical. But Panthers, maybe fire sale. DJ Moore, and you didn't mention Brian Burns, but I've seen on Twitter, I feel like people are kind of pushing hey, maybe you should pay Brian Burns, or you should trade Brian Burns, especially if you're not going to pay him.
See, that's the thing. It's they gotta.
I'm not saying I would do it, but there's there's rumors around that. So, assuming he is on the block, who would you rather trade for, DJ Moore or Brian Burns?
Oof, that's tough, man.
Assuming you're going to pay Brian Burns, right? DJ Moore got paid, and you're going to have to trade Brian Burns if you trade, or you're going to have to pay Brian Burns if you trade for him.
I think Burns. I am a massive fan of his game. I think he's the type of edge rusher that, when he's got an advantage, when he's facing maybe an unathletic tackle, he really goes to town. He can take over a game. May not be the most consistent, but I think that's more rare skill set in today's NFL than what DJ Moore brings to the table. DJ Moore, great wide receiver. Not debating that whatsoever. But Brian Burns, a difference maker. And also contract at the moment a little more favorable. And also only 24 years old. I mean, DJ Moore's young too. But I think I lean Burns, but it is close. Both those guys, those should be your building blocks. You know, Shaq Thompsons of the world shouldn't be your building blocks. Christian McCaffrey should not be your building blocks. Those are not the guys you should be giving out the big money deals to. It should be Burns. It should be DJ Moore. So I hope they don't trade either, honestly, for their sake. All right, my one. And this one, debate between number one overall picks that it doesn't get brought up much, but Trevor Lawrence or Kyler Murray. Obviously not connected any way other than they're both number one overall picks. But who would you rather have right now, assuming contract out the window? Just who would you rather have quarterbacking your football team?
Just like
right now.
Okay, right now.
Right now. Not for the future. This season. This one's tough.
I guess this season, Kyler. Okay. Moving forward, I still think you got to bank on T-Law. It also depends on the situation too. I mean, like neither necessarily have like a very favorable situation. You know what I mean? Like I think the answer is a little bit different if it's like I'm starting a franchise from the ground up, and I get to pick a quarterback and I get to surround him with the talent that I want to surround him with, not Cliff Kingsbury calling plays or, you know, the ghosts of AJ Green and D-Hop and shit like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, like who's just better right now? Probably Kyler.
Okay. See,
you think Trevor's better right now?
I think he might be.
Okay.
I think I would.
I'll hear you out.
One, I do think his situation on paper, like they're comparable. I don't think I would take one for certain over the other. Like even once DeAndre Hopkins comes back, I would then for sure take the Cardinals.
They're both like that meme that's been kind of played out now, but like the battle of mid.
Yes.
They're both
right in there.
They're both fighting the battle of mid.
Yeah. Where if you had a legit bad starter behind this. If you had, I was going to say Daniel Jones, but he's at least done a little bit more this season than in years past. If you had Jared Goff in either of those situations, it'd be rough. Like ugly rough. Like Jared Goff last year rough. So I just think Trevor Lawrence can put together consistent passing performances. Like Kyler Murray is just so boomer bust to me, and not to say Lawrence hasn't had ugly games here, but I do think that you'll see more consistency from him going forward. But they really are tight at the moment. I don't have a real strong take either way, unfortunately, on that debate. All right, what's your unit one?
All right, this one is kind of forward-looking or casting your prediction into the future. Eagles tackles or Browns tackles for the next 4 years? And I don't mean just your starters. I mean like tackles as a whole. So Browns, Wills, Conklin, James Hudson, Eagles, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, Andre Dillard. I guess you could throw Jack Driscoll in there too.
I got to lean Eagles. Even though, Lane's 32.
I was going to say you're factoring in age a lot here.
32, but tackles age somewhat gracefully, I think. Or at least the ones in recent years have. That 36 is not out of the question. That's not ridiculous at all to be a high-end pass protector still at that age. I mean, highest pass blocking grade in the NFL this season, Lane Johnson, doing it at a high level still, only 3 pressures. I don't think we see a cliff in his future, maybe a steady sort of decline, but I think at 36, I trust him in pass pro as much, if not more, than Jack Conklin. And then Jordan Mailata is obviously like a guy that may even get better if he can stay healthy on the football field over the next 4 years, only 25 years old. I'd already take him over Jedrick Wills, both healthy. So,
and you think Andre Dillard?
Dillard's probably gone.
Yeah,
he'll probably.
But he's like he can't stay healthy, and like James Hudson has looked good.
Hudson did look good.
You know what I mean? Like that could be like and their 3 guys are all young. That's why I was saying like for the next, because Eagles obviously right now, but in the future,
Yeah.
That they could have something. And I guess Conklin probably will be out of there too, although I looked him up, he's 28, so he'd be 32. So 32
is fine. That's what Lane is right now. That's not.
So you have just like 3 solid guys for the foreseeable future.
Both.
But I like Eagles too.
Yeah.
I just thought it was an interesting debate.
All right, here's one that I'm going to love to hear your answer on. Bengals offense or the Bengals defense right now? Which would you rather have?
Well, again, it's situation based, right?
Right now.
Is Zach Taylor calling plays?
Yes. You have Zach Taylor.
Then the defense.
And Lou Anarumo.
Yeah, then it's the defense.
I think it is too.
Unfortunately.
It's as ridiculous as that is to say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good defense. I guess it's not ridiculous. This is a top 10 defense in the NFL, my opinion. So that's not absurd. But this is not a top 10 offense in the NFL.
No. And they don't have to be with that defense.
True.
Like, that's why, I mean, we talked about the other day how, like, Joe Burrow's biggest issue this year probably, I mean, outside of the O-line and outside of the play calling has been, he's not taking what the defense is given. Like, you saw it against the Ravens. He was short pass, all my force one to chase. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, nobody wants to admit it, but, like, that interception was probably as costly as the goal line debacle.
Yeah.
And, like, they need to be comfortable winning games 20-19.
Yes, because that's
21-17. You know what I mean? Because you got the defense to do it. You don't have to score 30 a game.
And I feel like that's the way of the world for a lot of teams now. Not to say like offense has been figured out, but
I was going to ask that last week, like, because we were talking about like a lot of offenses that have struggled, right? Like Packers offense is struggling, Rams offense is struggling, Raiders. I mean, I don't know if you'd necessarily consider them a good team, but like they got horses on offense. Like there's a lot of offenses that are, otherwise you would consider pretty good teams that have just not clicked. Yeah. And is that because like defense is ahead of offense at this point, or like maybe even the pendulum is switching, like kind of shifting back from like, offense scoring 30 points a game to like now more, defense heavy type stuff. Cause it will eventually, right? Like the NFL has always been cyclical.
Yeah. I do think it's the rise of these, the proliferation of the Fangio tree of DCs is helping. And I tweeted out just the other day, dropbacks, EPA per dropback against cover 3 this season, 0.076. That's kind of in line with what we've seen the past handful of years. That I don't want to say cover 3 has been figured out, but if your base defense is cover 3, a lot of those teams are getting shredded nowadays. Whereas quarters, the average EPA per dropback against quarters so far this season is negative 0.073. Yeah, the rise of that is really putting a cap on a lot of these explosive offenses that were lighting up scoreboards in years past. And so you're just going to see more and more of that. And honestly, it's going to lead to, as weird as it is to say, the running back position becoming more valuable again.
That's what I'm saying. Like back in, in our childhood, it was all about like, Sean Alexander's of the world, right? Mm-hmm. You got to have a guy like that. You got to just pound the rock. And eventually it will probably get back to that, right? Like, skinny jeans are hot for a while and then it's fucking cargo shorts, you know what I mean? Like it just shit, like fashion's cyclical and like the NFL is cyclical like that.
It's why you
it's
have
going to
guys,
happen at some point.
You have Nick Chubb on pace for nearly 2,000 yards this season. Saquon Barkley on pace for over 1,700 yards this season. Josh Jacobs on pace for almost 1,700 yards. Like you have guys who are going to put up a lot of numbers at the running back position because it's becoming advantageous with a lot of the looks these teams are seeing to run the football.
Are us nerds going to be out of a job if we have to go back to hard-nosed old school football?
Dude, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to actually watch running backs in the draft. So much time that I don't have to waste in years past. I'm kidding. I watch every player, but all right, last one, random one. Oh, my take was Bengals defense. Well, random. What is your random? Would you rather?
Going back to the Tom Cruise thing, Mission Impossible movies or the Bourne movies?
I didn't love the Bourne movies.
Really?
I wasn't a Jason Bourne guy. I liked
the first couple were like real good. Mm-hmm. First like 3 were real good, and then it kind of tapered off, and like Matt Damon left, and then he came back, and I feel like Mission Impossible, like the first one was good, second one was and it kind of like started off slow, but like these last few Mission Impossible movies have been awesome.
Yeah, I thought the first one was great, and then I like your take. The one with the the doves, and they're taking their faces off and putting on voice boxes. Which one was that? 3?
You talking about the one
2?
with Philip Seymour Hoffman?
Yes.
That
one was
3
tough.
or 4.
That one was a slog to get through, and I thought it was going to be over after that. But they've been great in recent years. I'll be honest. After the second Bourne movie, I don't even think I saw the rest. I was kind of out on the Bourne.
The most recent one with Matt Damon's not very good,
Ooh.
and then the one with Jeremy Renner was just okay. Like it fit.
Uncle Jeremy?
It fit the storyline.
Mm-hmm.
It just was. I mean,
not.
So I'm leaning Mission Impossible for me personally, but I just think it's a decent debate because those are kind of like the two like spy action movie franchises.
Yeah, they have a similar conceit.
Yep.
Mine is also in a similar vein. The movie club. Last 2 movie clubs, Tom Cruise or Will Smith movies.
It's Tom Cruise.
Their filmographies. Who you leaning towards?
It's Tom Cruise.
Man.
Dude, I love Tom Cruise. I know he's like fun to hate on because of the Oprah meltdown and he's short and he's a goofball. But dude, he's got bangers. He's got bangers.
Okay, I do think high end Tom Cruise wins that fairly easily. There was a time though where like Will Smith didn't miss. You know, like he didn't have bad movies, in my opinion. If you go back to the old days, like the 90s, where it Bad Boys, Independence Day, Men in Black, Ali, Men in Black 2, Bad Boys 2, iRobot, Hitch.
But he had a stretch, too, from like 7 pounds. You remember that movie? Like 7 pounds to like the movie that he did with his son.
Yeah, After Earth.
Yeah, he had a stretch of movies in there that was like...
He lost his touch, dude.
Really bad.
Quite literally.
Really bad.
Lost touch with reality at some point there, too. So
well, it's
they both have.
It's because Scientology kicked out Tom Cruise and like Will Smith is like the new... they replaced him. Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, I will say Tom Cruise, tough to beat. Going back to, I mean, even All the Right Moves, dude. I mean, All the Right Moves is a banger. Top Gun. Color of Money. The Firm. Oh, love The Firm. Few Good Men. Jerry Maguire.
What's the one, it's escaping me, where he's the bartender?
Cocktail? That was...
it's Cocktail,
Cocktail.
Right? Yeah, Cocktail's good.
I don't think I've seen that.
That's like an old Tom Cruise one, yeah.
Rain Man was great.
Yeah.
I need to go back. I kind of want to go back and watch some old Tom Cruises.
Rain Man was filmed here.
Because I don't think I've seen Born on the 4th of July.
Oh, dude, that one's... Don't watch that.
Not great.
That's the saddest movie I've ever seen.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's based on a true story. And it is good. I think either he won awards or the movie won awards. But it's extremely depressing. Okay, it is not a very uplifting movie.
I'll stick to Home Team. I'll stick to Kevin James. Maybe is Kevin James. Should we throw him in the mix? Would you put him over Tom Cruise or Will Smith?
Let me look up Kevin James movies right now.
Dude, there's like Chuck and Larry. That was a hit.
I mean, King of Queens, that's not a movie, but
Paul Blart was underrated.
The Paul Blarts. I forgot about those.
Paul Blart was so bad.
Grown Ups.
Unwatchably bad.
Hitch. I forgot he was in Hitch.
He was in Hitch.
That's a pretty good one.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, Kevin James, his cinematography is not as good as I thought it would be. For being like as recognizable as Kevin James is. Dude, he's King of Queens, dude. That cast him in. Because that show's good.
King of Queens was good.
Yeah.
What's his face? Stiller made Frank Stiller. What's his first name? Ben Stiller's dad. He made that movie.
R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. All right. Well, there you have it. Home Team. 2 weeks from now, we'll be discussing. Hopefully, you guys tune in. Next Monday, we'll be doing back to one take, going through every game. Enjoy Thursday Night Football, the great matchup, Commanders, Bears. Until next time, Mike Renner, Mike Quinn, Talkin' Ball.